we get a lot of questions about hand loading, reloading, how to work up accurate loads. A lot of times I think it gets a little too complicated. And so I decided to make a video here of a method that I use when I'm making up my own loads for going hunting and going out to shoot moose. So here's how we do it. I hope you enjoy the video. How to set up a full-length sizing die, and to do it so that full-length sizes while compensating for the flex in your loading die. So you start out, put your shell holder on the plate, raise it up, and screw your die down until it contacts the shell holder. Okay, now the die is set up so that it's contacting the shell holder. You can see there's no gap between. And I want to show you what happens when you have frame flex, which happens in all reloading presses to a greater or lesser degree. This is a full-length sizing of a case. Go all the way down. Now look there and you'll see there's a gap between there, see? This case is not getting full-length sized. So you have to set it up so that your die contacts the shell holder when the case is fully sized. So turn it down a little bit farther. Try it again. Now you see there's no gap. That's the proper setup for full-length sizing a brass cartridge case when you're hand loading. Here's the method I use to full-length size fired brass. I use graphite type dry lubricant for the necks on the inside and the outside. This one's from Redding. Very convenient ceramic balls. And for the outside body, I use a typical case lube. Put a little case lube on my finger, rub it around like that, and I take a case. The first thing I do is stick it in the dry lube. I don't want to get the dry lube to have my wet lube on it. Then I just once over the body a little bit like that, put it in the press, make a complete movement. And it's done. Neck in the dry lube. Rub the wet lube on the outside of the body. One pass, and it's done. One more time. Take the case, put it in the dry lube just to get the neck. Wet lube the body. Turn your fingers. One pass through the full-length sizer, and it's done. On post-fitting chambers, we recommend that you test fit your full-length size brass before proceeding with reloading. We've set up a Model 97D rifle here to show you how that's done. You want your rifle to chamber freely. So you check your brass, make sure it all fits. Now be kind of dirty looking because it's got some sizing lube on it, and it's got some kind of dusty graphite on the necks. It's dirty, and so what you do now is just clean it up. Okay, we have a two-step, pretty simple brass cleaning method. Paper towels, wipe the dirt off. You'll see there's a fair amount of grime on each one of these. Take that off. This is a plain dry paper towel. You can see, just go through them. you're loading these for the rifle, you don't need to go all trouble tumbling them and all that stuff. You just want to get it cleaned off for rifle. That's what you do for the day. The first step of cleaning your brass is done. Got all of the loose, wet, and dry lube off of the cases. Now you want to degrease them. With Windex, squirt on a dry towel, paper towel. Just like that. Taking off the grease. You want to degrease these because you don't want oil in the chamber. And so forth. Okay, now we're going to trim the brass. A lot of folks will ask what's the exact trim length that you need to have for a 6.5 compressed. Actually, the main thing about trimming the brass is you want them all to be the same. So what you do is you measure the brass, find the shortest one. You measure them straight onto the mouth, or you can roll it one that's got a little quicker mouth and roll it the shortest distance. And that's the distance, that's the length that you can trim all of the brass. Okay, this is my technique for trimming brass with the Forster trimmer. First I line up the case in the collet, line it up with the pilot, and the teeth will grab the pilot and spin the case. And then once I get the case spinning, then I tighten it up. And that assures me that it's well lined up. And we start cutting. My shortest length was 1.966, I think that's what it was. And so I set the trimmer up to cut them all that length. Put them in there. Get them started. Tighten up the collet. And then let her cut. Gets to its adjustment, it stops cutting. Okay, here's a close-up again. Lined up put the shell on the collet, lined up the pilot. Let it spin a little bit as you tighten up the collet. And then let it cut until it stops cutting. Okay, it's this length. Cut in. Nice and clean, nice and square. On the E. Arthur Brown Company website, there's a free tech report on trim length that's a pretty good explanation of the technique used here, or the approach. Not looking for a tapered case, I'm just looking for the bird. Okay, now we're going to chamfer the inside of the case. Remember again, we're not trying to make a big taper here, we just want to take the burr off. On the inside there, the edges and case mount are nice and smooth and bright. Okay, so our brass has been full length resized. The case mounts have been trimmed to the same length. The mounts have been chamfered. All test chambers, they're all fitted down. We're going to assemble the ammunition. For priming, we use a standard reloading press with a shell holder. Shell holder's got a hole in it. This press has a priming arm, goes in like that, and that gives you a plunger for priming the shells. Okay, so you seat the primer in the plunger, place the shell in the shell holder, seat the primer, and there you have it. Okay, now I'll show you how to set the seating depth for a bullet. This isn't seating within the 1,000th technique. This is a method that I use to set up my hunting ammunition, and I just want it to be close to the rifling. I also want it to fit my chamber. Okay, to set up the die for seating bullets. First thing I do is I put a cartridge, empty cartridge on the die, pull the handle down all the way. Then take the seating die, screw it down until it stops, which means it's at the crimp. Okay, there it stops. Now, I don't want to crimp these shells, so I back it off, full turn. And then we're going to lock it with the locker. Okay, that's how it's set up. Just backed off from crimping. Okay, now this is the knob that sets the depth of the bullet. Back that off a ways. Take the bullet. Pin the mouth of the case. Feed it up into the die. It's not touching the seat of the plug. Come down and touch off. See there's that much gap there. Just some of it in. Okay, now I have a bullet with I have a cartridge with a partially seated bullet. Okay, we're test chambering one of the bullets that we just seated. This will show you whether it's, there you go, it stops quite a ways out. So I have quite a bit of distance. I have to seat that bullet further in because it's hitting the rifling right there. Okay, so we checked chamber depth on this cartridge, and the bullet needs to be seated a little bit farther. So put it in there. Turn the seating seater depth plunge, pull it down a little bit further, push it a little farther in, ready to test chamber another. Okay, we've just seated this bullet a little bit deeper and we're checking the seating depth. Now there you go. Yeah, we went all the way in. So as far as having ammo that'll fit the chamber, we've seated the bullet far enough that it's now fitting perfectly. On the E. Arthur Brown Company website, there are some pretty good free technical reports on cartridge overall length, seating depth, and other reloading topics. I encourage you to go and take a look. Alright, I'll now show you my setup for assembling ammo. I use a reading powder measure for the charge as a micrometer adjustment, so I can adjust the charge. The micrometer doesn't tell you how much range of powder it is. You use scale for them. I use an electronic scale to measure the powder. These are really neat because you can zero them with the powder plate in there, so that when you're measuring, you're actually getting just the weight of the powder. So, combination powder measure, powder scale to get the right charge. Okay, here's a close-up picture of your electronic scale. Turn it on, and it calibrates and zeroes itself. Now you want to take out the weight of the powder pan, which you can see here is 9.3. So we press the 0 button, and now the powder pan is zeroed out, so when anything we put in the pan will measure as the accurate weight. Okay, so we're going to throw a charge. Okay, so I've thrown a charge in the pan and I want to check it. It's coming out to 38.0 grains exactly. Now this scale is accurate to plus or minus 0.1 grain. Okay, so back here at the reloading press, I have my measured 38 grain charge, I have my prime brass, and I have my bullet series eye all adjusted, and I have my bullets. So, here we go. Take your prime case, funnel on it, dump the charge into it, make sure it all goes in there, that part's done. Put it on the press, place the bullet on top of the case, run it up into the eye,